Yahoo! Welcome to another ep. I wanted to start the episode by talking about something that I'm really excited about, which is the idea of choosing yourself and pouring as much energy and love and attention into yourself before heading out into the big wide world and trying to make a change. I feel like this concept is one that you can kind of get closer and closer to, and I've been really enjoying going through anything that may come up and deciding to put the time and the love and the energy into choosing myself and sussing out what it is that I do need in this particular time. And that sort of like regulation is not something that's taught, because I think as well our parents weren't really taught to emotionally regulate, and then you go back generations and generations, and you can go back for as long as you want and blame the past as much as you want, but there does come a time when you need to be able to have processed that in a good way, and then to be able to sit with yourself and decide that all the energy that was once outpoured to others and to friendships and to lovers can now actually go back into yourself. At the start, to me, it felt like a little bit of a lonely ideal, but then when I started to notice that you can basically love yourself in a way that is like you're in a relationship, I was like, I wish I understood this secret ingredient a little bit early. I think I've spent so much time really just trying to get comfortable with the idea of being okay alone, and something just clicked recently where a lot of the inner child stuff that I've been working on has been, I think, subconsciously probably rewiring a lot in my brain, and now I'm able to tune in more naturally. So if you do find yourself outpouring a lot of energy and love into other people, and then when it comes to yourself, you just pop it on the back burner, I would recommend sitting with yourself and asking where it is that you can meet yourself with more love and compassion, because that's been kind of my mantra for the past couple of weeks with people and with myself. Like, where can I be more compassionate and where can I be more loving? Yeah, as I said, these are things that aren't necessarily taught, and we're all kind of operating from a past with a lot of traumas and a lot of pains and trials and tribulations. And if in the present day we can learn how to regulate ourselves, it means that we'll be in a world of fully regulated humans, and we'll be able to just bounce off each other in a more natural way. Choosing yourself has so many benefits. It may come across as quite selfish, and I'd say in ways it is, but the benefits to me outweigh the selfishness. So I really recommend putting a little bit of time aside to sit with yourself and to ask yourself, am I comfortable with choosing myself and putting my own needs first? And do I have the tools necessary to choose myself time and time again? Or do I find myself more inclined to want to focus on other people and put my attention and energy there? I feel like it's a really cool practice to get in tune with the way that you work and the way that you roll, and know that it's not like an easy thing to do in ways, but you can really truly become your own best friend. And I actually think that's where the imaginary friend thing kind of comes from. It's like something that can be squashed, but really you're just becoming friends with yourself. It's all imaginary. A lot in the past, I'd put other people's emotions and needs in front of mine. And then one time somebody once said to me, don't lose your comfort at the expense of somebody else's comfort. And that just hit me in such a way, because for so long I'd been tiptoeing around little things and not raising certain points, and just being like, if I do this, there's a potential it'll make this person feel that. And yeah, it came from a good place. But then when I decided to stick with my truth, something just like faded away and washed away, and a softness kind of came over. I'm still a hard ass in ways, but it's nice to let the softness kind of dictate a little bit more of the way I move through the world now. So one of my biggest tips is choosing yourself time and time again, no matter how hard it can be. Really, 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 really hard to do, but the more you do it, the more it becomes natural and the more rewards you'll reap. It's nice to spend that time just recharging the batteries and like really just like topping up the cup, topping it up with a lot of goodness and then coming back out into the world and being able to share so much from that full cup that you do have. I wanted to talk a little bit about manipulation because I think this is such an interesting topic, and when I realized that it can be a conscious thing and an unconscious thing, my world just rocked. I feel like my mind was just completely blown. I asked my brother this question. I was just like, do you think like he's an asshole or he's just unaware? And he was just like, there's so many in betweens there, sis. And that's when I realized that a lot of people are operating from unconscious traumas. And it comes back to that awareness of self and that maturity piece that I'm often talking about. It's that you can be really aware of your footprint and you can be totally unaware. You can be completely in your own lane, in your own world, and just not even have the idea to set foot into somebody else's world. Or you can be one of those people that's completely empathetic and always feeling the other person's emotions and things like that. So it's a funny one to balance that. When I had the realization that a lot of people aren't going to learn the lessons that they need to learn in this lifetime, I feel like I was kind of set free. I balanced these two parts of me that are like, I would like to tell this person that the actions that they are having are not as positive as they could be. And then there's this other part of me that thinks, I think it's better off that they have their felt experience. So it's an interesting kind of one to balance. Yeah, I feel like the people around me, my biggest intention is for them to like realize their own potential and to also not be stuck in a cycle, because often we hold people back from their full expression of themselves. So yeah, that one's cool to play with a little bit. All actions can be conscious or unconscious. People can be manipulative and they can be narcissistic and they can be all the things, but they can realize that. Or they can be all these things and not even realize it, which is truly a little bit scary. But hey, when you cultivate enough trust in yourself, just being like, I can fully trust myself, I can trust my inner compass, I can trust my intuition, my body will let me know. I feel like I was like, oh shit, no one can really fuck with me anymore. And then, yeah, I feel like I was really set free from that realization. Super, super appreciative. I wanted to talk about how exiting the victim mindset as quickly as possible will be one that will bear so many fruits. I am someone who's often not spoken my truth, and then I've fallen back on mostly resentment. They say that resentment is unexpressed truth. So that's been my pattern. Don't speak my truth, resent. And just like this for so long. And as a kid, I'd speak my truth, and then I feel like I had quite an avoidant father figure who would prefer for things to be simple. And that's something that avoidance commonly known for, is keeping things simple. They don't want to stir the pot, they just want things to be easy, which is, to me, yeah, cool. Like, easy is good, but there's also, real life that happens, and real life needs to be talked about. And I think pulling people into line is actually really important, but it depends if they're committed to their own growth or not. I reckon resentment is like truly poisonous to your mind, body, and soul. It teaches you bits and bobs in ways, because I feel all emotions teach you something, probably except shame. Shame, you just kind of wallow in it. But I feel like that's one that I've wanted to let go of so much. And to let go of that resentment, I really needed to exit a victim mindset that I'd been holding on to for so long. Like, oh, they did me wrong, and they did that, and they did this and that. And that becomes such a mask for facing your own shit head on. So that was really epic for me to be able to sit with and to be able to let go. And then from there, I feel like I was finally able to experience some real compassion and love in my heart, because I feel like before that it was quite robotic. It was really cool for that to just like drop in, like feeling like all this lightness and love in my heart. So in the end, you're gifted a huge gift. So if you can exit the victim mindset, the why me, and head into looking at yourself and where your part is in the matter, like where you could do better, always reflecting, then I feel like some fruits will follow. Following on from the victim mindset, I wanted to talk about awareness and realizing there's a lot of different kind of scales of awareness. And something that really helped me moving through certain emotions was realizing that there's a shameful awareness and there's a loving awareness. So the shameful awareness is very hyper aware of self and super critical. So you can be in conversation with someone and kind of just like unpacking every single little thing that you're saying and every movement and feeling like you're rigid and it's painful. It's not really one that can help as much as loving awareness. The loving awareness element doesn't come as naturally as the shameful awareness because of our past, because of rejection, because of feeling ostracized in school, or because of those 0 to 7 years where we pretty much form our being. Because of those early years where we try so hard and we feel like we become squashed, it turns into a shameful awareness. It's different for everyone, though. I think a lot of people can naturally be more loving if they come from a family that taught that, but I just don't think it's like overly common. I'm not sure. It's not really talked about. So let me know if you think loving awareness is super common. If it is, I'm moving to your postcode. So shameful awareness is basically drilling yourself for every single little move you make. It's listening to that internal voice that tells you that you're not enough, that you could be doing better, that you could be flyer, that you could be more funny, or whatever it is. Basically, it tells you that you're not enough. And I think that all those parts that you are shamefully aware of, those parts are parts of yourself that could really do with some integration. From that shame, you can learn something, but I think the sooner you can move into loving awareness, the better. So loving awareness is mostly basically just having an internal voice that is a lot kinder, that is a lot more accepting, that is a lot more curious. And I think cultivating that is really cool. And knowing that you can literally like form and mold and like concoct your own little inner voice that suits you. It's such an epic tool and a driving force for life, because we need that little inner voice to get out of bed in the morning, to make things happen, to record the potty, to edit this, or to do life. That's ego. That's the parts of the ego that aren't shunned as much. We really do need that. And I noticed, for example, my mum's inner voice is very strong, very like, get up, you're not like made like this. You were taught differently. It's very just like, I don't know if that's where I got it from, but I have a similar one that's just like strong, get back up, like, what more can you do? How can I fix this? How can I be better? And that's gotten me so far. And I really do appreciate how strong my core is from that. But there comes a time I feel that that strength would be better off as softness, because softness is just much lighter. That's something I've been cultivating a lot over the past couple of years, is having an internal world that is just one that I'm happy to sit with, proud to be with, and that is basically just like a little best friend to me. A lady once said to me, my thoughts are my friends, and that's something that plays over in my mind. I'm noticing my thoughts. A lot of the time I'm trying to get rid of all my thoughts, just so it's like, so there's just like a lot of space internally, basically, because I feel like the less thought, the less pain, the more room for joy and abundance. You need to feel all the things. It's true, but I feel like if you can cultivate an internal world that is more positive and that is more loving, I feel like you'll move through life in a way that is just more enjoyable, because drilling yourself for your every move it's interesting. I don't really know where it comes from, but I know a lot of us kind of suffer with it. So it could be conditioning, it could be ancestral, it could be like fucking the Catholic Church chirping in your ear. I don't know. But I know that a lot of us feel shame and we don't really know where it comes from. So moving from shameful awareness into loving awareness is just pure magic, and making sure that inner voice is a positive one and a sound driving force, because to move through life, you need ego. So I wanted to move on from there into will, which is one that I've been getting a bit jazzed up over, having strong will. And I've noticed that, again, my mum's really strong. I feel like I've taken on a lot of those characteristics in the don't be low for too long, get back up. You're strong, you're a powerhouse, go, go, go. And I've really enjoyed that, because it's gotten me quite far in life, I guess, in ways. And I've also really enjoyed, on the other end of the spectrum, having more of a flow in life instead of always being like strong and firm and all this. Moving to the other side, which is probably more the feminine, which is just more curious, flowy, and compassionate. And I find that this has been really helpful for me when I've in the past set goals where I've been like, all right, for example, I'm not going to drink for 3 years, and then just being like, bang, bang, that's my goal, being so set, doing it, whatever. And then, or setting the goal, not meeting it, and then just being so disappointed in myself for not having a strong enough will and not getting there. And I find that it's been really cool for little goals that I've set with myself to just make them small and attainable, not this big, huge leap that you have to do. Not like I'm not watching porn for 6 months or whatever it is. Just being like, I'm going to have a couple of days off. I'm going to have a week off. I'm going to do 2 weeks and just see how I feel. It's much cooler that way instead of that all or nothing approach, which I've always had. Knowing that things don't need to be hard and rigid, they can just be soft. No, I'm going to have a day off Insta. I'm going to have 2 days off Insta. I'm going to take a cheeky week and just reevaluate. I think it's really cool to just be more playful with those little goals that you set yourself as opposed to just being a hard ass, which we've all done. I think a lot of us have that black or white kind of mentality, the all in or all out, and just realizing that there's so many other spots that you can kind of sit and you can kind of make it work for you. To make habits, it's also good to just step away from something for a few months and to just rewire your brain and, so you're not reaching for it. It's really important to do that. But I also think that if, for example, like weed is something that I want to still have in my life, I'd love to just be like a weekend smoker. So I've just been like experimenting with certain little things, and just at the start I had this all or nothing mentality. I'm going to have a year off, and then I was just like, but I love it, and it helps me with my creativity, and it makes me do this, and it motivates that. And then a lot of it was really positive for me, and some of the time it wasn't that great, but I also believe that weed kind of highlights things that you need to look at. So call me woo woo, but it's been really cool being a bit less of a hard ass with this stuff and just being like small attainable goals, and don't have to do this big forward projection. It can just be like small little goal, small little goal, small little goal. Sick. I just met that goal. That's epic. Like, it doesn't have to be hard. That's what I realized, that life doesn't have to be like hard and like all the time. It can just be more flowy, more accepting, and more delightful. So they're my little tips. I'm going to just touch on this for one more second. Probably talked about this in 30 of the episodes, but how important breath is and how cool this little method is, something that I've wired into myself, which is basically anytime that I can possibly think or remember to have a breath, a conscious deep breath, wherever I am. I can look like a weirdo in a public space, but taking a big deep breath wherever I can, and every time I remember, just taking one, because every time it's basically a little nervous system reset. It's a de-stressor. And the other one is sussing out where your tongue is in your mouth, because that says a lot. If it's smashing the roof of your mouth, there's a high likelihood that you're feeling a bit stressed. And if it's down the bottom, oh, that's probably a little bit better and you're probably feeling a little bit calmer. So that's one that I always tune in with on the daily, is my tongue up there. And sometimes you can be feeling not too stressed and it's smacking the roof and you're just like, wow, I wasn't aware that I was a little bit tense. So that's a cool one. But yeah, breath, we love it. The most constant thing in this life is your breath. I think we could be even a little bit more mindful of our breath. Yes, it's something to be very grateful for. So thank you. Thank you so much.